Hello and welcome to Truth Tuesdays. I am Pastor Ken Martin. I'm excited that you joined me today because I am calling today not Truth Tuesday, but I'm calling it Resurrection Tuesday. If you're new to this podcast, we explore God's plan for our lives here on church. We talk about church and we talk about goals and missions and passions, destinies. The focus is placed on this life because this is the shortest portion of your life. But it sets you up for eternity. It sets God's plan in motion for others for eternity. So today we're going to be reflecting on the cross and Jesus' resurrection, since Resurrection Sunday was just yesterday. But the cross casts a long shadow all the way back to Genesis and our beginning on earth as male men and as female men on earth. So my first point to you today, and there are only two, I think, is that Jesus' primary purpose in coming to the earth was not just to offer salvation from eternal death, though that's part of what was included. His primary mission was to preach the gospel concerning the kingdom so we could be restored back, so we could have kingdom rule. We could live in kingdom rule. We could live this life in king dominion so that man could, as God's representative, as those who could now be in fellowship with him, to bring God's rule throughout the earth. So he gets a chance to rule in the earth as he rules in heaven. So his rule prevails. So think back to Genesis, where God said, let us make man in our image after our own likeness and let them have dominion. This was God's original intention, mankind operating in king dominion, king domination. However, this dominion was lost when Adam submitted to Satan. So Jesus came to redeem us and to restore us to this earthly rulership that God intended for us under God's influence, bringing heaven and its power to earth. So that's why salvation is so important. It returns us to true fellowship with the Father so we can act as his representatives. This leads us to my second point of the day, and that is that the kingdom message is of paramount importance. Jesus' public ministry, right from the start, centered on one message, the message that John the Baptist preached. Yes, the same one. He preached, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Now, this just wasn't one of his messages. So I want to suggest to you that it was the only public message that Jesus preached. Now, he taught about a lot of things, don't get me wrong. But when he was out in the public, this is what he wanted to get over to people. Now, since we just celebrated his resurrection, you'll notice that even after his resurrection, as you read and study the scriptures, Jesus spent the next 40 days speaking of, you guessed it, the kingdom. This same message was proclaimed by the Apostle Paul later and by the apostles, Peter and the rest. Failing to preach and teach this message means that most Christians probably are not as inclined to study the scriptures in search of this message, in search of its meaning. You may even be more comfortable hearing stories about David and Goliath, about Elijah and about Moses, about David, all those Old Testament prophets, and never adopt a kingdom mindset, never live in its power, never experience Jesus' success intended for you in attracting disciples. Understanding and prioritizing this kingdom message in the same way that Jesus did is crucial for faithful discipleship. So before I wrap up today, let's consider the role of the church post-resurrection. And see, I want to put this on your mind, this kingdom message, because over the next few weeks, we're going to be returning to some of our roots, some of the roots of this podcast. That is, what is the church and what is its role and what is the role of members who want to follow in the footsteps of Jesus and who say they want to accept his command to go, to preach, and to make disciples. So we're returning to the basics. And as kingdom disciples, please know we are called to exercise authority and enforce kingdom principles in the territories that we claim for God, in the places we live, and the things that we like to do in our activities, in our households. And so this means actively living under Jesus' lordship in all areas of our lives, allowing his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven in our lives. And we are called to make disciples. That's part of what we're supposed to do. We need to seek first his kingdom, emphasize his kingdom message, and use it to live the kingdom lifestyle. Now, that's just the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're wondering about this, look in the instance when Jesus sent out the 12 and see what his instructions were. Look when Jesus sent out the 70 and see what his instructions were. And while you're doing that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as the case may be. And I shall look forward to seeing you again. May God bless you and keep you. That is my prayer.